Welcome back, everybody, to Boundary Line Podcast. Dillon Pink here. I've got Sheldon with me once again. And today we're going to be speaking about one of an all-time great, one of the champions of England cricket, Eoin Morgan. Sheldon, do you want to begin by saying something to Eoin Morgan? I know that you follow Eoin Morgan a lot, and England, like the way they play and things like that. So, do you want to do the intro for once?
Yeah, I really don't know where to start. So you could start at the beginning or the end. But you know where I'd actually like to start with Owen Morgan is a low moment. I'd like to start because 2015, I think the lowest
Yeah,
moment in English cricket. Owen
yeah,
Morgan was captain at that World Cup as well,
yeah.
and I remember it so well as well. At the end of the Bangladesh game, England were knocked out. Nasser
Exactly.
Hussain said the Bangladesh Tigers knock out the English Lions, and you
Yeah,
could just see Morgan there, almost like that could have been his last game for England. So
yeah,
often it happens, a terrible tournament,
yeah,
and that could have been the end. But thankfully, it wasn't for English cricket.
yeah. We will be speaking about that in going ahead, Sheldon. But what I wanted to say, since you brought that up, 2015, he just became the captain of the side. I know that, but just before that, I think England were in a mess. With Alistair Cook and things going on. I think he was just made captain a few months before the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, in fact, England were playing a tri-series 4 months before the World Cup, and Alistair Cook was captain for that. I
Exactly.
remember
Yeah.
it was in Sri Lanka. It was not a tri-series, it was a seven-match series, and England were all over the shop. I think they lost 6-1. Cook was
Yeah.
captain, and
Yeah.
it was all over the place. And then they took him out, and they almost like told Morgan, "Here you go," but with Cook's players basically, and and then
Yeah.
disaster struck from there.
Coming to the fact that yes, they get knocked out, and then Owen Morgan was so inspired by Baz's team, right? He was so inspired by Baz's team that he just went back, sat down, and he's like, "This is not the brand that we're going to play. We need to play harder. We need to be more aggressive. We need to show them that we are here." And we mean business. What was that thing like, for them, like, to just go back and for this guy who's just coming newly into the team, and he's just been said that, okay, here you go, here are the reins of the team.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is the first game after that World Cup, and I think that's the game that set the tone for Morgan's captaincy. They played New Zealand. New Zealand came to England to play a series, and I remember looking at the team sheet the first game after that World Cup. It was all new guys. You saw Alex Hales opening the batting with Jason Roy. You're like, who's this
Yeah,
guy, Jason Roy? You
exactly.
saw Joss Butler batting at six. You saw a long batting order with Rashid and Plunkett and all, and you're like, oh, Liam Plunkett, he was all right before. Like,
Yeah,
why
he
is he
was all
back?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw like David Willey as well, and you saw a different England side. Adil Rashid was back. He kind of had a spell back in 2011, and it didn't work out.
It didn't
You
work.
thought, oh,
Yeah.
why are they going back to him? And
Yeah.
first game itself, England hit 400, and you think like, what better way to set a benchmark? And I remember Joss Butler hit 100 in that game, and
Yeah.
Joe Root as well. Joe Root hit his fastest ODI 100 in that game as well, and it just
Brilliant.
set the tone. And Morgan always his good mate Brendan McCullum, and he always talks about it. And like
Yeah.
Brendan McCullum is still doing miracles for English cricket even today. So they definitely have a lot to thank McCullum for. But yeah, that first game set the tone, and I think it was so important that Morgan got the team he wanted, because so
Exactly.
often in
Yeah.
England, like you have a captain, but he doesn't select the players. I mean, just for example, when you said 2015, that team that they played for the last game was just totally not the
Horrible.
one he wanted. Alex Hales was on the bench in the
Exactly.
2015 World Cup.
Yeah.
Ben Stokes was not being selected.
Just another thing of what I was thinking of was Owen Morgan was that one sort of a guy who got these guys together, like really inspired them. And Ben Stokes, even now, he says that Owen Morgan is probably one of the world's best, right? And he was the one who kind of changed the way they played. So do you want to say something about that? Like, the way he got all these guys under his wing, and he, like, he kind of mentored them.
Yeah. And I think also it's so important that, okay, when you score 400, it's great. I think one of the good interviews I saw from Moggs also is during that England New Zealand series, is
Mm-hmm.
one game where England went too hard, maybe. I think they
Mm-hmm.
got 290 and they were all out in 45 overs. And Nasser Hussain had asked him that, oh, do you think, maybe you went too hard, you should have batted your overs? And he straight away said, no, that's not the way we want to play. We want to keep attacking. And if we were going at a 7 runs per over, why stop? Just because we were running
Yeah.
out of wickets. And England lost that game as well. And it's just
Yeah.
that mindset that Morgan had. There were
Yeah.
times when England, I think, played in Australia and they were 20 for 5. And so easily in that situation, you can be like, okay, let's stop hitting. Let's just, change the way we
It's
play.
changed
Let's
the
go
way.
back
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
old England, like pre-Morgan. Like it used to be very dull to watch England in ODI cricket. And even
Yeah.
just in tournaments, Dill, I think you would have remembered back in 2011 and 2007 and all those tournaments. England were
Yeah.
not great to watch, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Except, for a few guys like Kevin Peterson and the Flintoffs and all these guys were there. And of course,
yeah,
Stuart Broad, James Anderson, we're all really good. But then you didn't have guys like Stokes. You didn't have guys like a Joss
yeah,
Butler. You didn't have guys like an Alex Hales who could just take the game away from you. But
yeah,
here you got all these guys with them. They're pretty young. Then Morgan comes in and he just tells them that no, go out, express yourself. And that's the thing that I really liked. And like you mentioned, he didn't stop his aggressive approach of theirs. Even
yeah.
though they were losing matches, he said that no, this is the way we want to play, and that is a big thing. Coming to the next thing, Sheldon, that I wanted to touch upon, I really feel Morgan doesn't express, enough, like on the field. We've seen it with India, of course, one of the
Yeah,
world's best MSD. Even he's
yeah,
got the same kind of attitude. He's cool, calm head. It's not aggressive. Like we see now the young guys going on, whenever they get a wicket. And Morgan was very calm like that. So do you know something about him? Do you want to explain to us what's that approach or
I think it's different though. I think different captains have different styles, and I think his worked for him. He was very calm. You couldn't tell whether England were 200 for five or 20 for five with his expressions. He was just very
exactly?
calm, and I think also you need maybe that type of captain more when you're playing aggressive because it's so easy. Imagine like in India, if someone got out playing an aggressive stroke and someone like shotty at them straight away, like you can't afford that if you want to play an aggressive brand. And I think
Yeah,
Morgan was perfect for that because I don't really feel he'd be someone to be like, oh, stop, don't play a reverse sweep, don't attack the way England wanted to play as well. But yeah, his captaincy style is just it was perfect for the way England wanted to play. But
yeah,
again, I don't feel there's any problem with an aggressive captain. I like for example, you said I think the way Kohli captained, for
yeah,
example, aggressively, like I love
yeah,
that style. I
yeah,
would love a captain to show passion, but obviously it's different. Tony was
yeah,
great at not showing expressions as much, and even Morgan. But
yeah,
I think it just works for each person different. I think Morgan said in an interview that he used to play aggressive and used to show his expressions, and he said like he couldn't concentrate while playing, and it affected his
yeah,
game badly.
yeah,
That's why he had to try to keep his emotions in check. So
yeah.
that's why it perhaps suited him better being more calm on the field.
Yeah, what a champion of a guy, and coming next, what I want to ask you about, his approach and the way he plays. Of course, batting at number 5, number 6, sometimes he used to come up the order sometimes. I believe when he made his debut, he used to bat up the order, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and when he made his debut as well, I remember at that time he was a different kind of player. At that time, he
Yeah,
used to play reverse sweeps and it was different because England were playing a different style also back then. So he was rare in the team because otherwise you had like Bell, Trott. Obviously,
yeah,
KP was different, but you had
yeah,
Collingwood in there as well. I mean, it's not really dynamic, when you look
yeah,
at
yeah,
that.
exactly. Exactly.
So he
Yeah,
was different like KP. So, and I think at times during his younger days, England probably didn't appreciate that more because they felt, oh, you know what, we want someone who can play a proper cover drive, more classical
exactly.
technique.
Yeah,
But those were the players they needed back then. You had players like Roy and Butler and all waiting in the
yeah,
wings to come, but
yeah.
instead, test players were being rewarded for their form.
And I
And
think, and I think even with the game moving so fast,
yeah,
from Test and ODIs, we've seen that shift, and you've seen the new
yeah,
kind of guys coming in with the Virat Kohlis, the Rohit Sharmas, and the Andre
yeah,
Russells, and the Chris Gales
yeah,
was already they were going big. You needed these big guys to go over.
yeah,
So yeah, so I felt England were behind in that. They only had very few guys who could do that. But now you see the team like the way they had, and I think credit must be given to Morgan for kind of changing that approach of theirs, I think, post that World Cup. But what I want to ask next, Sheldon, is about the way he used to play. Like some crazy innings he's played. We all know that world record that he's got, for the most number of sixes. Crazy game in Afghanistan. I mean, versus Afghanistan. I beg your pardon. Where he smashed the 16 sixes, if I'm not
16
mistaken.
sixes.
16,
Yeah,
16.
yeah,
That was insane. But I was just having a look at his record here, and especially his ODI record there. 248 matches, 7,701 runs, a high score of 148, and an average of 39. And his T20Is is he's played 115 matches, 2,458 runs with a high score of 91, and his overall T20 record is 374 matches. That's 7,780 runs with a high score of 91, and that's batting at almost at 5 and 6. So, I mean, this guy's a champion, right? And especially when it comes to white ball, I think he's absolutely one of an all-time best, right?
Yeah, I feel also with this captaincy lately, you almost forgot how good he was before that.
Exactly.
Because you almost forgot that, oh, he was a pretty good batsman. Like, just his stats alone, I think he's England's all-time leading run scorer in 50-over cricket as well. And he was tremendous, especially at the start of his career. His form was really good. It's almost like it tailored towards the end, which can happen. But I think towards the start, especially, it was really good at 5 and 6. He used to finish games a lot.
Exactly.
He was like pretty consistent there. And yeah, even that knock against Afghanistan, that was so crazy. And probably in that England team, you probably thought he was one of the least explosive players. Like, because they had players like Butler, Roy, and all. And what a time for him to do it in the 2019 World Cup as well. And yeah, that's just an amazing. I remember poor Rashid Khan, he was being hit all over the ground that day.
I think the biggest highlight so far for Eoin Morgan would be winning that 2019 World Cup. We all know how it was, and there were so many teams there in the running. There was Australia, India, New Zealand, of course, and England were there, of course, who were the strong teams. Eoin Morgan there, and especially that crucial match. I believe at one stage England, where I think they lost a couple of games, and then they had to win. They had to win a must-win game, to get into the next round. And there you have it. Like Eoin Morgan, like he played so well, captained the side brilliant well. And who can forget that match versus India? I think that was an all-important match versus India, where they beat India.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I remember because they had lost back-to-back to Sri Lanka and Australia. Yeah. And that was the one time at press conferences I saw Morgan a bit flustered, where he looked like, okay, fine, like he's a bit tense. And you can imagine, like, host nation, pre-tournament favorites on the verge of an exit. But yeah, when they needed to come good then in those games against India and New Zealand in the group stage, that's when they really turned it on. I remember even at that time, there was like the England fans and the players were having issues. I think Pesto said he doesn't feel the fans are backing them completely, and the drama that happens around tournaments, right? And stuff. But yeah, they needed to pull it around, and I'm pretty sure Morgan would give them a good talking to before those two important games, and well, the rest is history.
And of course that classic World Cup match. Who can forget that? Oh my God, that was one of that. I think so far is like the best ODI match ever. It doesn't get better. Chasing in a World Cup final, having a super over in a World Cup final, tying the super over and then winning on boundary count. I mean,
Ian Smith on commentary, that Ian famous Smith, line.
Nasser Hussain there. I mean, it was everything was happening there. It was happening so fast that even these guys didn't know what was happening on the field, right?
I think when they got the super over, no one knew who was supposed to be on commentary because they had already gone over 40 minutes and they were like, oh, do we change now?
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that is just insane. Like, it was the longest day probably I've ever seen in my life, because I remember there's a rain delay at the start of the game as well.
Exactly.
That was 1 hour, and then the slip over at the end, and you're like, wow, it's a long day.
But anyway, to wrap this up, guys, Sheldon, I want to ask you in one sentence, what would you say about Eoin Morgan here?
I think he was a game changer for English cricket, and I'd say he's a proper leader and definitely a legend.
Nice. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. Eoin Morgan has said it's time to hang his boots up and he retires from all forms of the game. He's been an absolute champion, absolute leader, like Sheldon said, and an inspiration for so many of us here. And, farewell to Eoin Morgan. We wish him all the best. And hopefully you can get Eoin Morgan on our show. But thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We put out weekly updates on all the happenings in cricket. So do like, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comment section what was your favorite Eoin Morgan memory, or if you have any special Eoin Morgan innings or something that you like what he did, mention it down there in the comment section. But until then, thank you so much for watching the video. Take care, and we'll see you soon.